James is eating some poor man's pizza.
I'm not feeling that poor. I'm feeling pretty rich. We live low on the hog, but
I put it on slices of bread.
That's awesome. I mean, it's really not that much different. Really,
but I use this fancy concentrated tomato paste that we were given from Italy.
Italy, mutti.
Yeah.
Mutti. Solo pomodoro.
I don't know how fancy it is, but it seems fancy to me. Comes in a little squeeze tube, like a big toothpaste tube.
Yeah, so Parma's not just famous for Parmesan.
I guess it's famous
Parma,
for
Italy. It's famous, it should be famous.
Well, we'll see. You try it and let me know if it's any good. I don't know if I'll be able to find it again, if I like it. But already I like the fact that it's in a squeeze container. When lately we've been doing stuff, making meals that are like, for the most part, what college students might want to enjoy, like the big waffle breakfasts and stuff like that.
Yeah. We're able to get
anyway,
fresh fruits and
one of the things that every college student eats a lot of is pizza.
Lots and lots, yeah.
I mean, I couldn't afford to be buying pizzas when I was in college, so...
Well, I mean, you were careful with your money, always have been.
I wasn't nearly as careful as I am now, for sure, as I should have been.
Well, that applies
But I managed to live on incredibly little. Yeah. Like, I'd do things like I'd unplug everything. Well, besides the fridge. But I'd unplug everything when I went away from the apartment. And my power bills were so cheap because of that. Like, I only plugged things in when I needed to use them. Because you actually, your appliances suck some electricity out just being plugged in. There's no point to leave them plugged in if you're not using them. But then I got lax about it over the years and I don't do it. But I should do it again because it's a waste to keep things plugged in. So anyway, when I was in college, I used to use a product called Pizza Squeeze, and it's actually really disgusting. It's way too sweet, and yeah, it's not good, but
it was good enough, right?
Yeah, I'd make pizza buns like every day. So I'd take a bun, I'd slice it in half, and I'd put Pizza Squeeze on it, and be really frugal with my toppings. Like, I'd slice mushrooms razor thin, so then it looked really appetizing and like it was special. Honestly, it was good back then. But how's Moody?
It's very good.
Good.
Very good. Right here. Thank you, Parma, Italy. Thank you also, Parmesan. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
You're done good. So, shall I start my re-review?
You betcha. You've already went over that, have you not?
I think so.
Okay.
Fact is, true confession time. I haven't finished. I've only gone 1/3 of the way through it.
What?
This time around.
Oh, this time around.
Yeah.
I see.
That's why I'm calling it a re-reviewing. Not a rave review. So this is Island by Aldous Huxley. So it's kind of like combo utopia, dystopia. He was pretty good at writing dystopias. He was the one who wrote Brave New World. And what was his other major one? I think it was Ape in Essence. So I had a real thing for Aldous Huxley back in the day. I read well over half of his total oeuvre in the summer of 1974. Trying to get through a book a day. Had a little trouble with the Dickens. I went through a lot of Dickens that summer. What, the Dickens? Yeah, Dickens. The other person I went through a lot of, aside from, I think I went through a lot of Virginia Woolf.
Boy, those flies really want that pizza.
See?
Flies are
Pretty
so
good
annoying this
advertisement,
time of year.
Give something to fly, taste test, right?
Oh my god, you got it.
Oh, it's left-handed too.
And these guys are like, he's distracted. Go for the pizza.
Left-handed, and I didn't spill my water, so I'm feeling pretty good. Anyway, this is a re-reviewing. I read it in 1974. Fact is, I read this exact book.
Really?
Yeah, it's a library acquisition.
And then they
We probably got
it
it totally for free because they were giving so much stuff away. So of course, when I saw this on the shelf, I would have just snaffled it up, right? So yeah, LPL discard just in case you think I stole it or something like that. So I'm not into that kind of stuff, but it's not really worth the risk of stealing. So Aldous Huxley was pretty good at writing about dystopias. But I mean, the dystopia part of this is pretty good. But then he's got this utopian island.
You have sauce in the corner of your mouth. There you go.
Thought of it? Thank you for doing that. No, sorry about that at home. This stuff is just so delicious. It's just, you know, it's hard to, you just want to chomp it all down and stuff like that. So
James
that's
is a
what
big
happened
fan of
there.
pizza.
I'm a big fan of pizza. Yeah. So, yeah, so he's trying to set up this beautiful society. It's kind of like Buddhist, syncretic. There might be a little bit of Sufism in there. But it's enlightened as well. So it's a Scottish dude who's partnered with maybe an Indonesian or something like that. I don't think Indonesia is ever really mentioned. It's like an island enclave, a bit like Bali is in Indonesia, but these folks look to be more like Buddhists or whatever.
There are 1.2 kilograms of fresh tomatoes in the tube, in the thing. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It's very concentrated.
When you think about 2 pounds of butter, that's more than 2 pounds. Getting up towards 3 pounds. That's a lot of stuff.
But well, they're not fresh tomatoes.
Anyway, it's about the last thing that Aldous Huxley ever published. Maybe the close to the last big thing he ever wrote. Published in 1962. And you know, that's 40 years roughly after his first work was published. I think it was in the early 20s. Stuff like Antique and Chrome Yellow. I preferred that sort of stuff where it was kind of witty and snappy. Of course, back in the day, in 1974, summer up, I just turned 20. I was pretty impressionable. I remember with Dickens, but also with Aldous Huxley, I was going through and I had little bookmarks. And I'd write in all the words that I didn't know the meanings of. And I'd go through several bookmarks, right? I'd just file them away for even a short book. Antique and Chrome Yellow I think are somewhat shorter, maybe considerably shorter than Island, which is roughly 300 pages. I think those things tend to be more like 200 pages, maybe even less. I don't know. Maybe some of his stuff. Some of his stuff that's considered greater, like I think counterpoints a bit. Well, considerably longer. Anyway, I used to think he was kind of like the cat's pajamas and the bees and things like that. when it comes to vocabulary. I read this stuff nowadays, and I'm like, okay, yeah. It's kind of cartoonish. But most fiction that I read nowadays, it doesn't matter if it's that sci-fi stuff or, you know, it all reads pretty cartoonish to me, you know, which is sad. Is it a sad commentary on fiction? Not really. Fiction is basically entertainment. You know, back in the Victorian era, it was the TV of the era. So I don't really expect that much from fiction. I expect a story or something like that. I don't expect, you know, to run across cosmic truth or anything even approaching. I'm reminded of a study. I think I mentioned it before. You'll hear me mention it again. You Fogoshes. One has to be careful about psychological studies. I think it's done by a psychologist. Included, as I recall, a range of people. Included novelists. And what they were doing was trying to find out how good people were at assessing other people's motivations for doing what they did and stuff like that. As I recall, the novelists weren't at the bottom of the list, but they were worse than average. Why would you read a novelist to find out the truth, the cosmic truth of things? Read nonfiction. Read some fiction too. Don't expect huge apocalyptic revelations or anything like that. If you're expecting that, you're either going to be disappointed. More likely, you're going to be you're going to accept as apocalyptic revelation cartoons. And that's what the Fogoshes do. Starting with, I read fiction. I read novels. I read literature. And man, do I know better than people who read nonfiction. Because fiction writers get down to the essence of things. They're exposing the truth and exposing their souls. And it's the testimony of literature. The testimony of literature is worth to me what it would be on the witness stand. Here's the testimony of literature, Your Honor. It is the final, you should base your final judgment on this. No. There's no place in something like that, in the courtroom or anywhere else. Anyway. I'll be reviewing this once I finish it.
Again. So
Finished
now
in
you
74,
can really only give
and then 47 years later. What was that?
Right now you can only give the review of Young James.
Young James, 20 years old. Now, 47 years later, 67 years old.
Yep.
I could sense back then that it wasn't up to snuff by comparison with his other stuff. But now, I look back at his other stuff and I say, it's kind of sophomore. And, but what the hey, I was kind of like a sophomore back then. What's a sophomore? Second year? University? I think I just finished up my second year of university. So, there you go. So, there you go, Fogoshes. Put that in your hash pipe and smoke it. Right? Enjoy.
Right. That was a short one, James.
Yes, it was. It'll be longer when I go through.